Ladies and gentlemen, before Trump even posted his Iran warning that has Democrats crashing out, let me set the stage first. 2 U.S. crew members had to be rescued after their fighter jet was shot down over Iran. One was recovered immediately. The second had to be found later in a much riskier mission. Now, here's where this story ends up taking a turn. You had people online, yes, and in the media, people here in the United States who were so locked into their political bias that they were essentially rooting against the outcome. So locked into their TDS that they were essentially hoping Iran captured the crew member, just so it could make the president look bad. And that's the part, obviously, that should make you pause, because at that point, this is no longer about foreign policy anymore. It's not even about disagreement. You're talking about a situation where an American service member is in danger, and the reaction from those on the left is filtered through politics first. And then in the middle of all of that, Trump drops the ultimatum. And so we got to break it all down. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know. Stay locked in with the future videos. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit all for your notifications. That way you never miss when I drop. Now let's get right into it.
While the Iranians were confused and uncertain of what was happening, the agency then used its unique, exquisite capabilities, what are described as exquisite capabilities to me, to search for and find the American airman. This was described to me as looking for a needle in a haystack. But in this case, it was a brave American hiding inside a mountain crevice up on a ridge, invisible except for the CIA's capabilities. The CIA immediately shared the crew member's exact location with the Pentagon and White House, and they knew where he was all along while the rescue took place. But the rescue was difficult, and we understand there was a great deal of gunfire to keep Iranians away from the area where the weapons systems officer was hiding. The president ordered an immediate rescue mission, and that's when CENTCOM kicked in. And we understand it truly, everyone that we've spoken to who was a part of this mission and overseeing this mission says it really is one of the most daring and complicated, layered missions that they've carried out, a rescue like this in a long, long time.
This operation for the first pilot and the second pilot was a remarkable exercise, demonstration of U.S. military courage, technology, power. I would encourage the President and the Secretary of Defense, consistent with operational security, share as much of that with the American public so that the American public can appreciate what goes into this kind of operation is more complicated than the bin Laden operation, for example.
Wow.
I'm not sure any of that.
That's saying something.
I mean, this should be an easy feel-good story for the media. You wake up on Easter Sunday that just passed, missing service member is rescued, something to be celebrated. You can give the military credit. You can give Pete Hegseth credit. You can credit the president, because we know if the situation was reversed and it went sideways and Iran had captured the stranded crew member, it would easily be in the news cycle and dissected for the next 2 weeks. But now this will probably just be a footnote come Tuesday because of the media bias. And that brings us to what followed, which was Trump basically letting Iran know that the U.S. is not messing around and will continue to apply pressure. He just said it in his own way. Take a listen.
President Trump says a U.S. weapons systems officer is, quote, seriously wounded this morning after being rescued in a daring and heroic mission launched by U.S. forces inside Iran overnight. The injured airman survived being shot down behind enemy lines, CNN has learned, by hiding alone in a mountain crevice before he was rescued in a massive effort involving hundreds of American military and intelligence personnel. But if you were wondering how the success of that operation might affect the president's posture toward Iran moving forward, wonder no longer. He has just threatened Iran in extraordinary graphic terms, giving the Iranian regime just over a day to either make a deal, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or face hell. If your children are watching, be warned, the president did not use polite language. Quote, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. We should note that destroying civilian power infrastructure is generally considered to constitute a war crime under international law, though the president could argue that the infrastructure has dual use and also is utilized by Iran's military.
Yeah, so let's take a look at exactly everything what the president said one more time. It says Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you will be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. He's wild for saying that. I'll admit that. President Donald J. Trump. Now listen, was that wild? Yes, it was. But at this point, we know the president is going to say things how he wants to say them. And that's something that the left cannot stand one bit. But this is a conflict. This is war. Things are going to be said and done that are meant to let your enemy know that you're not messing around, period. Basically letting the remaining Iranian leadership know that the clock is ticking, yes, and that they need to comply with the demands of the U.S. because things can get a lot worse if they don't. Take a listen.
Yeah, guys, good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for 15 minutes. He gave me some new details on the negotiations behind the scenes with the Iranians and what's going to happen if Iran does not make a good faith deal. The president tells me if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. The president went on to say you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. Now, I asked him about the possibility of an agreement with the Iranians. He says those who are negotiating on behalf of Iran have been granted amnesty at this time so they can continue the talks. And the president tells me he thinks he'll be able to get a deal by tomorrow. He says, I think there's a good chance tomorrow. They're negotiating now. All of this following the president's post on True Social, where he talked about these negotiations with the Iranians. We'll pull this up. He says, quote, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. The president posting there on True Social about this ongoing operation and his new red line for the Iranian regime. Now, the president also provided new details on what happened earlier this year as the Iranian regime took to the streets and slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000 civilians in their own country. After that took place, President Trump told me the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters. He tells me we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them through the Kurds, and the president says he thinks the Kurds kept them. He went on to say we sent guns to the protesters, a lot of them. And so a number of headlines here from my conversation with President Trump. All of this taking place more than a month into Operation Epic Fury and in the aftermath of that successful U.S. operation overnight to rescue that stranded U.S. service member inside Iranian territory. The president himself ordering that operation after the CIA came on Saturday morning and confirmed that they located where this crew member of an F-15 that was shot down on Friday was located. Again, the president making that decision to send in hundreds of U.S. special forces deep into Iranian territory and successfully retrieving that U.S. service member.
And so now what you have is you have Democrats and people like Stephen A. Smith, we're going to get into in a second, who, yeah, we know he floats out the idea that he wants to run for president. He'll debate Kamala or Gavin Newsom. They are crashing out and upset because of what the president said. Take a listen.
Look, I ain't no damn supporter of Iran, okay? Leading sponsor of terrorism, all of that. Stuff they want to do to Israel, stuff they've already done to America. I ain't no supporter of that, but you're the president of the United States. And you go on social media with a profanity-laced tirade, and then you're going to end it by saying, praise be to Allah. How do you think that's going to help us? How do you think that's going to help us throughout the world? I mean, seriously. For Muslim countries that ain't around. It never ends with this guy. It never ends.
Yeah, and so there you have that. Stephen A. Smith highly concerned with the words that the president is articulating, dealing with people who say death to America. Okay, Stephen A. Smith, great job. That's why I can't take him seriously. But let's get into this MS Now meltdown as they're crying also that the president is threatening with war crimes, they're saying, because, of course, they have to find something to criticize with the president. They would rather see us, I guess, coddle our enemy and I guess whisper sweet nothings in their ear to the Iranian leadership. But let's get into the clip.
I want to go back to the president's tweet here. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump. That is a quote from the president. So yes, we are saying it on television.
Parental warning.
I have been stuck on, so much so that we're doing a segment on it on the 9 o'clock, that what the president and this administration has been saying for at least the last week, that they actually did knock down a bridge that they said the military was using, but that civilians used. They said that they're going to take out all of the power plants. The president said Tuesday will be power plant day. That would be considered a war crime. These that the president is saying sound like, to me, and a lot of experts, war crimes. And then you have the president with this new Truth Social today.
And so you got this MS Now panel trying to evaluate a wartime situation through a peacetime lens, which makes absolutely no sense. Because in reality, when you are dealing with a country that has been tied to the deaths of how many service members, and they're refusing to comply, I think the framework is going to change. This is no longer about ideal scenarios or preferred outcomes. It's about leverage. And they speak as if the president is just winging it, which is a complete disrespect to our military intelligence. And leverage only works if it's credible, but they don't factor that in when criticizing what the president is doing. I think when the president signals that nothing is off the table, that's not random or reckless. I think that's a strategic message. Is meant to communicate to the other side that there are real consequences if they continue to resist. But let's continue.
It's very difficult for me to process this moment. I mean, this is a very unprecedented statement. We have the president of the United States basically declaring his intent to commit war crimes, right? You've accurately described the law. You're not supposed to be targeting civilian infrastructure, even in countries that you are nominally at war with. And this is just a further escalation of the Trump administration's sort of lack of interest in domestic international law, right? It started with the boat strikes off the in the international waters off the central, right? Then we got the deposing of the Venezuelan president. We had the war in Iran, and now this, which is disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful, coming from our U.S. president. And the language is disgraceful. The claims are disgraceful. This is historically terrible communication. This is the sort of thing, I hate to say it, that you would expect to be introduced in a war crimes tribunal in the future.
Actually, I just want to weigh in quickly because David Rode, who was just on with us, sent one of our producers his reaction to this tweet, and it's very insightful. This will offend Iran's hardline jihadist leaders. It doesn't frighten them. Bullying religious extremists who want to become martyrs doesn't work. He says he's witnessed this in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Just to we also want to make a clarification. 1 p.m., the press conference will be tomorrow with military leaders in the Oval Office.
With the president. Laura, I know we're supposed to be talking about who the next attorney general is going to be, but this right here from the president of the United States, were it anyone else, we would be talking about the 25th Amendment. People in Congress would be raising hell. And why do I get the feeling that neither one of those things is going to happen? I know this is just breaking, so you haven't even had a chance to work your sources here. But when the president does stuff like this, incendiary things like this, is there any behind-the-scenes panic from his staff that what he's doing is really undermining his presidency, but also America's standing in the world? Any kind of panic.
And safety.
There's some panic. I mean, there White House staff who have worked for President Trump, whether it's during the first administration or now, will acknowledge that half the time, probably more than half the time, they are reacting to what he is doing. They are learning about what he is doing when he does it, when he posts it on Truth Social, when he says something different in a press conference, when he goes off the cuff on speeches. That is him deciding. You can see it play out when reporters are asking him questions about the war as well, that he is sometimes just deciding in that moment what he wants to say or what he wants to pursue. Now, to your point, yes, I think that your assessment is right. Are we going to see Republicans running out saying this is
unacceptable,
frightening, and that we actually should support a war powers vote? No, you're not going to see that, because there are plenty of Republicans who have also encouraged the president to take more aggressive action, namely someone like Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, so there you have that, ladies and gentlemen. And I think the fact that we were able to rescue both missing crew members, one that, as you heard earlier, Obama's former DHS secretary articulated was extremely complicated to do on their turf, shows we are exerting military dominance right now. Are things running perfectly? I mean, of course not. But that's why you have multiple plans and backups to the backup plan, right? And so all we can do is wait and see. That's how we got to kind of play this one right now. It's not just about trusting the president in this situation. It's about trusting our military, who is devising all of these actions, right? And so we'll see. But let's jump into this last clip. You got CNN, who they're attempting to compare the fact that Iran's meme propaganda is comparable to the damage that the U.S. has done to Iran leadership. Take a listen.
Escalate.
Bill, you've always been someone who speaks softly and carries a big stick. This is not how you negotiate things, in my experience covering you.
Yeah, and that's my personal. But this is also the first war fought in this age of social media with this president. I think he does things very differently. I think he does things in his own way, different than Biden, different than Obama. And I think we're seeing this playing out this morning.
You know, the irony in all of this is that Iran has shown its capabilities in two ways, where the United States is unfortunately catching up. One is using cheap drones, which is they've been providing those to Russia to use in Ukraine, so they have lots of experiments with that. And the second is the meme war and internet propaganda, which is something actually the Iranians have been known for and influencing. And so they had, for all of our talk on our side of all the people killed in the regime, they have been pushing out through multiple channels around the world images of the American army generals and military people who have also lost their jobs at this time. So the way this looks out in the public is not a United States that is locked and loaded and working in one direction.
Do you think that the Iranians would rather have their entire Navy back or their memes?
Oh, I think
I mean, come on.
When we're talking
we have
about
destroyed 13,000
I think
military
the Iran,
targets,
and this is a
they
big
have
distinction.
memes?
This is a
Yeah. And so that's where we are right now. Decimated their Navy, taking how much of their leadership out, but they got those memes. They got those damn memes still. They got us. They really got us. I mean, give me a break. But you know what? Those are my thoughts in the update. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the content. Smash that thumbs up button and subscribe for more. And as always, until next time.